Hey everybody, I hope everybody's having a really good week this week. So this week, what's popping and dropping is this stackable card here that we can turn into a lot of cool things. I love it. And it is a total of 4 stories. So why don't we go ahead and head over to Design Space, and I'm going to show you all the things that you'll get in this file. I'll see you there. Okay guys, now that we are in Design Space, this is the Mushroom and Gnome pop-up card. These are all the basic pieces that you will receive in this file when you open it. I also want to say on the mushroom one, if you want dots everywhere on both sides of your card, depending on how many dots you want to put on it, I ended up cutting 2 sets of these dots. So just keep that in mind if you're not liking how many there are on it. Also, I have this separated from this because these are cut different, and you'll see in the video when I explained it. So if you want to keep these separate, that'll make it easier when you're sorting your cards out. If you want to add any additional things to your file, go ahead and do that. Don't forget to go up and name and save your project. And let's hop over here to our other card. Okay guys, here we are in the Ace in my book pop-up card. I have these separated just like the mushroom pop-up card. Now for this card, Aces in my book, I cut out 2 sets of these cards. And that's because I didn't have anything that looked like a playing card. So I used one for a pattern side, and then the other side I wanted white like a playing card. This is not necessary to do. You are going to do it this way. You would have a total of 30 of these squares. I wanted aces on all of my cards. It's up to you how many aces you want to put on these cards over here. It doesn't matter. It's just all in how you prefer it. These aces go with these cards. And if you notice, there is, let me zoom in, a little slit cut in these aces. Those will go on these cards here with the slit at the top. These aces over here go on these cards. So if you would like to add anything additional to this card, go ahead and do that. Don't forget to go up and name and save your project. So if you would like, we can go ahead and get our pieces cut out, and I'll meet you at the craft table. I'll see you there. Okay, guys, now that we are at the craft table, before we really get started with the card, I wanted to show you this trick for the envelope. The envelope is going to tell you you need a big mat for this. You can go ahead and say yes to use the big mat, but I always use the regular size mat with my card. I also use just a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. The trick to getting this cut is, if you notice up here, we have this number, if you can see it there, there you go, 30 right there. That is where we need to line our piece of paper at. So what I like to do is take my piece of paper and line it just at that line there. So I'm going to show you. And if it's off a little, that's okay too. So that's where I've lined that up, and I've tried to keep my edge straight all the way across. And then I take my little doohickey here. If you are worried that your mat's not sticky enough, you can use some painter's tape is what I use, and you can put some at the corners. I think my mat would be fine. I don't feel like I need any down here, but if you do, you can just put some tape on the corners also. So I'm just going to slip this in my machine. I'm putting my edge that I moved down in first. And we're going to go ahead and let this do its job. I want to show you what's on my screen here. I've already said yes to the big piece, but you can see it's going past the 12 over here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click my continue. Okay, so we got this cut out. I'm going to take my tape off here. And I save these and reuse my little pieces again when I need to. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to take my extra paper off. And then we have an envelope here. So since we have the envelope here, before we get started on the card, I'm going to go ahead and put this together. So let's work all 4 of our score lines. Okay, now what I do is, because I can never tell, I draw me a little trace of a line here so I know where to stop with my glue or tape, whichever you're using. So I don't, probably can't see those, but you get the idea of tracing it. And then I'm just going to put glue in those sections. So let's do that. And then we have our cute little envelope done. So since we have this done, we can go ahead and put it aside. And let's get out our card base and our pretty paper. And because our card is a little bit bigger today, we're going to have to use 2 pieces to make our card base. So we have 1 score line right here. So why don't we go ahead and work that. So once we have it worked, it should look something like that. And what we're going to do is put glue or tape on this tab, and we're going to line it up like so and put it together. So let's do that. So now that we have it done, we have our nifty little card base here. So now what we can do is go ahead and put our pretty paper on. So let's do that. All right, so we got a card base done. That's looking good. We can get our little mechanism piece out here. So we have a score line here, and we can go ahead and work that. It's going to be a mountain fold. And then we have one right here at the other side of the leg. So it will also be a mountain fold. And then on this leg, it's the same thing. There's one at the bottom. And then we have 2 score lines on each side of it. So far this is what it's looking like. And then we also have one in the middle between our 2 squares here. So we can work that one. And then let's work the score line in between the next 2 sets of squares. And then our last one is this little tab at the end. So let's take our tab, and we're going to put glue or tape on this tab, and we're going to bring it around. And if we fold it flat on our table like so, and then bring this end to it like that, and our squares should be lined up with each other, it will lay nice and neat. So it'll look something like that. So I'm going to put a little glue on mine and then bring the other side to it. All right, we have that done and we can move that aside. Now we are going to get our pieces out for our cards. I have already separated mine into stacks here, and these two are the ones we just need separated from the other. So the one with the hole in the center, and then the one that has the two notches, and you should have a total of 6 of those. And I cut out enough to double this because I wanted my back of my card to look like this and then the top to look like that. So I wanted to show you how I did that. So this is my white piece and this is my colored paper piece, and I just lined them up like so and then glued it onto my card. And remember, you do not have to double your cards up. This is just because I wanted it to look more like a card, a playing card. So I have that together. And the next thing that you would do if you wanted is to put an ace on the side of the card and how many ever aces you want to use. So you can see how the aces will line up on the card there. And on the other one, that the 2 sets of cards that were separated in the file, you'll notice where that one goes, if it has a slit in the middle of the heart, spades, clubs, whichever one you're using. Also, when you cut your pieces out, if you save your scrap paper, that'll be good because I'm going to show you where you may need to use it. So I've kept some of mine. If you can keep the part where this section, that's even better because I use this in my other cards and it worked perfectly. You didn't have to really do a lot of cutting, just snip that off. But you'll see in a minute why it's good to save that. Our first set that we make for our bottom, it's very important that it is going a particular way. After that, it really doesn't matter. We just always want our little duck head. This reminds me of a head of a duck. This guy is at the bottom. So our first set needs to be with a slot and the head facing this way. Then our next one needs to be with the slot on the outside and our little duck head facing to the right. All right, so our next one on the bottom here, it needs to have a duck head facing to the left and a slit on the right on the inside. And then this one, a slit on the inside, and then the duck head facing towards the right. This is the card has to start off this way. If you happen to pick these and you don't like your color scheme of what you have going on, you can switch these out. You just need to make sure your pieces are matching. So let's say if I want to add another red one to this, I would just need to make sure that this matches up. So the head is not going the right way, so I couldn't use that one. Now we have exactly the same, so I could switch that out and use like so if I wanted that. The only thing we need to remember after this set, it doesn't matter how they line up as long as our little duck heads are at the bottom of our cards. So we're going to start with these two pieces here, okay? And they are going to line up on top of each other like so. It doesn't matter which one is on top. If you have a preference, then put that one on top. So you'll line up your two slots like so. This is going to feed in to the slot, but we need to bend this little square down like so. Then once we have it lined up, it's easier if you stick the notch in the bottom and then you just shimmy it through the slot, and then once you got it to the other side, you'll just raise that little piece back up. So you should have something looking like that. Okay, like a T. Then this piece we're going to feed through this side. So fold that edge down, making sure our duck head is at the bottom. And then we are going to put the notch in the bottom of our slit there and work it through. And then we should have this piece like so. Now, I will say what I'm noticing with the paper doubled up, it is a little bit tighter to get them through the slots, but it will go through. And just take your time and be gentle with it, okay? So now that we have our base done, we're going to set him aside up here for now. Now let's go on to the 2 card ones. So you should have one with notches and then one with the slit in the middle. And the notches should be in the middle here. And we only need 6 total cards, 3 sets. It should look like that. Each with the set. However you want them. It doesn't matter as long as we have a slit and then the notch. What you'll do is we have a score line on this piece. It's right here, and I know you probably can't see it, but it will fold just about at the end of our little square over here. So we can go ahead and fold that down. I'm checking to make sure my heads are at the bottom. What I find is because if you go like this, it's not going to fit, right? We just stick it in here, it'll be tight. What I find is if you, on this duck head, if you slip it through and then down in the hole there, see how I put that in that hole there? And then shimmy this top piece through like so. And then once you get it through, if you push it back up into the slit and then just shimmy it on through, you get to the notch, put it down in the notch, and then fold it up. And then we're through. Let me show that to you one more time. Duck heads at the bottom. Check. Slit, notch, notch. We're going to work that score line. Duck heads at the bottom, duck heads at the bottom. I'm going to slide this in and put it in the hole of my little duck head here to get started. And then push it through. And then once I'm about that far through on that side, I'll push it back up. And then just work it very gently to the notch. Okay? And then we'll fold it back up like so. Let's go ahead and work our last one. Now we have these three guys work, keep together so we know where they're at. The rest of these, it's however you would like to work them. We just want to make sure the duck heads are at the bottom. That's it. So this is going to be our first layer. Now we're working on our second layer. These three that we just made, that will be our third tower. So with these, we're having duck heads at the bottom. Then we're going to have two slits. We're going to line those up. And then we need to find one with a notch. So we see the two notches here. Duck head is at the bottom. Duck head's at the bottom. Going to work that down in that notch. We're going to fold that little tab down and work it through. And then fold it up. So we have our T going on. Now, we need another one with a notch. So I have one with a notch, duck head's at the bottom, and it needs to go through on this side. Just a reminder, it is tight with your paper doubled up if you doubled it up. If not, it will go through much smoother. And then we're just going to fold that tab down and then work it through our centerpiece here. And then once we get it over, we're just going to fold that tab right back up. So we have an X. We have an X here. Now let's build one more of these. And when you have your X, you should be able to fold them back any way. They should lay flat like so. So now that we have two X's made, we are going to connect them. So how we connect them is really the same way. If we have a notch here, we need a slit. So if we got a notch, we need a slit. If we have a slit, we need a notch. Always making sure when we connect this that our duck heads are at the bottom. Okay, so let's put that through there. Got my slit through. We're going to fold that tab down, work it through, and then pull our tab up. Now if you look over here, it matches. We have notches and a slit. So let's go ahead and work that. And then we have a box in the middle and two V's. Okay. Now we want to do is make another box on each end. See how we have a square here? We want to do the same thing to the end. So we need duck head at the bottom, a slit because we have notches here. Okay, we're just matching this up. Slit, notches. So we'll go slit. We want to fold our tab down. Duck head is at the bottom. Duck head is at the bottom on all of these. Very important. I mean, you can go back and take it off, but if we get it right the first time, it sure makes it easier because I have had to take it apart and it gets frustrating. So we have that on. So if we have a slit here, right, we need to find one with a notch. So let's go find one with the notch. What's this color? Red. Okay. So we got slit. We got a notch one. We're going to work it through there. Hold our tab down. and then push them through and push that tab back up. So to close this to make our box, so now we just need to connect this side. So let's go ahead and do that. And we have another box. So we have two boxes here. Now let's do the exact same thing to the other side. Let's check and make sure all of our duck heads are at the bottom here. Look what we just did here. See, I did that one wrong. Even though it matches up, we need that duck at the bottom. I'm glad I checked that. So let's rework that one. Okay, so we got that fixed. Now we need to finish this square. So I need to find one with a slot because I got notches on that side. Find one and connect it. Duck head at the bottom. And we're going to go over here to this side and connect it so we can finish off our square. So let's do that. So we have 3 boxes now. What we can do is get our base. That goes on the bottom. Now, what we're going to do is in this middle square, this square here, with our duck heads, we are going to put each of those in the slots. See our 4 little squares here? So there's my duck head. There's my square. Is going to slide right through like so. Okay, so I'm going over to my next section. There's my little square right there, and it's going to go up in that duck head. Now when putting this together, they will fall out at times. And we're going to go to the next one. So there's our duck head, there's our slot, and we're going to work it through that like so. See it right there, how that tab of the duck head's going through, and the same thing on our next one. Now, ta-da, we have our second floor. Let me turn it this way so you can see. Now, if you find that when you open and shut this, any of your, like here, you notice this one was sliding out just a little. This is where we will use our scrap paper. And because this is white, this one that has slipped out is white, I'm going to use a white piece. If you have any of these extra ones left over, what we can do is just snip. See our little duck head there? Just snip that off like so. So we have that little piece there. And that fits really nicely through our slot there. If you save these pieces of it and you don't have an extra card, what I used is that one of these little pieces here. It will work too. Okay, I want to show you on this because I think it'll be better. You can see it with the red. Okay, so if you notice on this one, the notch, when I fold it, keeps sliding out. So what I'll do is take a little glue, and I put enough on there so I know I'm going past on both sides. So I know there's going to be a little glue on both sides. Okay. And I use tweezers because my fingers get in the way. They're a little big and bulky. So I have my piece here. So I'm just going to feed that piece through like so. See it there? And then I'm going to give it a squeeze once I have it lined up with the bottom. And then I'll stick my scissors in there to where I know the glue is. So about right there. And then if I need to straighten that up, I'll straighten that up so it's lined up with the bottom. So we see our little red piece and we made this lock so this can't slip back through. Now, if you notice on this, I put one right here, and you really can't tell because I used the same color material. If I'm opening and closing and I see that one is falling out, I'll go ahead and take care of it before I move on to my next layer. We have our first section and our second section together. Our next pieces that will go on will be the 3 X's that we made and set aside. And each of those will go in each of these squares like that. And to get those on, we'll just have our duck head and put it inside of our little notch where my finger is. That's the notch, just like we did the bottom. So let's do that. There's our first one. So we have a notch in that one, notch in that one, there, and there. And we'll just do the next square, whichever one you want to do. Duck heads on the bottom, and we're going to feed them through our little notch. All right. So it should be looking something like so. Now we can do a close up to see if any of our cards are falling out. And if they are, to me, this is the best time to take care of it. Mine all seem to be doing okay. So I'm going to set our little guy aside. I'm going to put him down so you can see it that way. Now, the rest of these, we are going to make X again like we did with our first section, and we'll need 2 of those. So let's do that. So all of our little duck heads are at the bottom. Now let's go ahead and make our second X. So let's do that. Okay, so for our last 4 pieces, we've made our 2 X's. And then what we're going to do is just connect them. So we got a slot over here, and we got 2 notches here, so we can put it together there. We'll slip my notch in, fold my top down, fold it up, and then we're just going to go over here and connect the other side. So we should have a box and 2 tails. Okay. And remember, all of our little duck heads should be on the bottom. Very important. So to connect this, I'm going to turn it upside down where our duck heads are. The center square is going to connect on the center of this guy here. So let's do that. So there's a duck head and there's a little notch there on this one. So I'm just going to slip it in. The center box on, you can move to, hold it this way, your next 2 sections, your tail. So this duck head will go into that one and this one into the notch there. And then the same thing on the other end. Alright, so I have it all in. So it should be looking something like so. And then I'm going to open and close it and to see if any of mine fall out that I need to adjust or work on. So they don't seem to be moving at all out of their position, which is awesome. So we have this piece done, so we can set it aside and get our card base out and our mechanism that will hold our guy here. So just make sure you have your card opening the way you want it. And we lay it flat like so, where our two square holes should be lining up with each other on each side, and our center tab is lining up on each side. And it's really easy. I'm going to center mine, and I already have tape on mine, so I'm going to tear the top off. And once I have it centered and bumped up to my score line there, I like to hold my card open so I know it's right against it. We can just fold our card down and give it a rub, and then turn it over. Take this side off and do the same thing. And we have our centerpiece looking something like that. So if you guessed it, you were right. We're going to take our duck heads and put them in each of the little notches that we have down here. So you see our little square holes right here when I turn it up. There you go. These four will go into that. But before I put mine on, I want to go decorate. So I'm going to go finish this up real quick, and then I'll show you how I put mine on. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I got my card done. So to put this on is really easy. We're just going to put the four little duck heads in each of these little holes down here. So let's do that. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to try to turn it sideways. So there's our hole. Right here is our little duck head, and we're going to put it in that notch right down there like so. I'm going to bring that up close so you can see. Okay. Alright guys, let's look at our finished card. It says no matter how you shuffle the cards, your ace is in my book. I just think this is a pretty magnificent card. I love how it stacks up here. I just think it's, when somebody opens it up, it's going to be wow. It sits over 5 inches tall when it pops up out of the card. And of course, on the back, we have a place where we can write a personal message. And I just really am pleased of how this card turned out. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at the other card that you have a choice if you would like to make. The mushroom pop-up card. And it says there's no one better than you. And you can see how much thinner it is than the ace in my book card. And if you put a gusset in it, it would help so it wouldn't be as bulky if you wanted to do that. So if we open this up, it says love you so much. And guys, look how sweet this mushroom is. I think it's so cute. And if you notice the polka dots, I did cut 2 sets of the dots if you want them to be able to go everywhere inside the mushroom, and that's totally up to you. And of course, on the back we have a place where we can write a message, so if they want to display it, it is hidden. And you guys, you could make anything out of this card. You could change these up and stack them different to create something else. It doesn't have to be a mushroom or the ace in my book one. And if you look, it stacks over 5 inches high when we open the card up. You guys know what a mushroom card says? Shroom, shroom. Guys, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and crafting with me. Don't forget to stop by next week to see what's popping and dropping. Bye.